Deep meditation, I said. Yes, said Daji. But not every meditation ends in samadhi. Some days there will be no depth, some days our meditation experience is too mundane for our liking. Then we worry that something has gone wrong. This shows our unfamiliarity about the path. In many cases, there's a good reason for an uncomfortable meditation. We go through periods of discomfort from time to time. So please underline this. Not every meditation will be of the same depth or of the same comfort. The biggest reason is that we have taken a quantum leap in our journey. We have taken a big step forward. Some inner transformation has taken place, and we now have to get used to our new state. So generally, when you have a very restless session of meditation, especially with the perceptor, it just indicates that a big inner transformation has occurred. More deeper cleaning has occurred. You move from one level of consciousness to another level, or you move from one sub point to another sub point, or one point to another point. So something has changed in you fundamentally, and you have to now get used to it. When you are going to get used to it, you will have some difficulty initially. It's like moving to a new country. You will have difficulty. You have to get set there. You have to become familiar with that country. Or reading a new chapter. You are well versed with the previous chapter, but in the new chapter, you have no idea what is there. So now again, you have to get used to a level of familiarity and comfort. What do you mean? I asked. So Joshua Pollock is like any one of us. So anything that he does not understand, he'll say, "What do you mean? You tell me this, you tell me that." Otherwise, Daji will go on saying so many things. So he stops Daji and says, "It's like moving into a new apartment," said Daji. You walk into your room and fumble for the light switch on the left side, but now it is on the right. It takes time to get used to your new surroundings. Okay. The best approach is to refrain from judging our meditative experience and the states of being that they create in us. Instead, be like a passenger on the train, simply observing the passing scenery. Now, you should not get entangled in judging every meditative experience. Or you should not judge anything at all. Right? Somewhere you have to be moderate in that also. Many meditation sessions gives us a clue. So if you are able to kind of pick up the clue in a very light manner, it's okay. But if you are not able to pick up the clue, then also it's right. But that does not mean to say that you should not try to pick up the clue. Many people do not even try to pick up anything. That's what happens. And they use this. Oh, no, Daji has said you should be like a passenger on the train, simply observing the scenery. So I will not pick up anything. No, that's not what he's written. The very fact that he's written this whole book is because he's actually observed so many things. If he also had not observed anything, he would not have written this book at all. Right? So that's a wrong fallacy to say that we'll only be observing like a scenery, we will not get involved in anything. That's not right. So you need to moderate that also. Okay? It's something like this. You get a blood test, and then after the blood test, you say that I'm going to refuse to interpret your results. You take the report to the doctor. The doctor says, "No, I don't want to interpret your results. You got your blood test done, and that's it. Okay, leave it." Will you be happy with that? You will obviously ask, "You tell me what is wrong with this. What is right or wrong? Is it okay?" Don't you think we'll ask? So something similar. Okay. On this journey, many scenes do pass by our window. We already spoke about the how our experience reflect our inner state. So please underline this. Our experiences reflect our inner state. How our anger and ego gives rise to bad experiences, and how our kindness and humility gives rise to blissful experiences. But there is a far deeper nature that we all share, a divine nature. This is our hidden nature, and it's a changeless nature. Two, as we progress, our inner nature, outer nature slowly evolves to match that of the changeless innermost nature. That is what happens. We gradually move towards our changeless innermost nature. Until we become identical with that changeless state, we have to undergo constant change. We have to move through so many conditions of being before we reach the fundamental state. All the while, we have experiences that reflect these inner changes. Change can be simultaneously, change can be tumultuous because there is no stability in change. Even though these changes are positive and reflect more overall balance in our personality, they still take a little time getting used to. And a certain amount of restlessness will continue to remain within us until we reach a changeless state. So there's always a background element of restlessness till we reach our original changeless state. If that restlessness is also taken away, then our journey stops. Got the point? So we always need to have a background element of restlessness. However nice we might feel, we always need to be aligned to the goal. The goal is to reach that eternal changeless state that we all carry within ourselves. Till that time, we will have to undergo the change. But there are times in our journey where we feel very nice about where we are and we want to be there only. Okay. Now, if your alignment to the goal is strong, it will not allow you to stay there. However nice the condition may be. You'll say, no, this is not your goal, move forward. Okay. It's like that you are in 10th and you have to get good marks in 10th. Now, there are certain chapters in maths that you like. And you will tell your teachers, forget about maths. I like these chapters. I'll keep doing these chapters again and again. I will not study the rest of the maths. I want to just study this chapter only. Okay, suppose you take a liking to trigonometry and you say that you want to go deep into trigonometry. But you will say, I don't want to study the rest of the portions in maths. What will happen to your score in the exam? Something very similar will happen to our journey. So we forget our goal is to pass the 10th, not become a professor in one chapter. Right? So likewise, if you get entangled in one condition, you will not get the length and breadth of the states that you have to pass through while reaching the goal. So however nice the condition might be at any particular point, our alignment should always be in terms of the goal. Okay, that's the reason why Babaji has written goal as the first chapter in after religion. The goal is the first chapter in reality at dawn. So first he wants you to be clear about your goal. Then everything else will fall into place. If we are not clear about the goal only, then we don't know. If we are clear about the goal of passing 10th or clearing 10th, then that is the stage. Then everything else will fall into place according to that goal. In other words, you will not go into excess of anything and get entangled. Okay? Somewhere along the way, in the midst of all our experience, we stumble upon the source of all these experiences, the inner cause of our transformation. So what is the inner cause of our transformation? Which is the source of all these experiences. That moment is important one. Your heart melts in gratitude and you are so moved, you see, you fall in love with your inner being. So it's this inner source or inner being that is the reason for the transformation that you are going to undergo. And once you touch that, you are in gratitude. You are so moved that you don't want anything else in life. You're very happy. You're very settled. Okay. And then you feel, at last I entered a very nice path. Okay. Now your focus shifts. You can no longer care about experiences. Now, once you touch the divinity, even if it's in the periphery, you are no longer worried about the experiences. You no longer care about peace or happiness or any passing condition. Why do we want peace? When we have the peace giver himself, you no longer care about transformation either. Meditation now becomes an act of love, pure and simple. It's not about getting anything or experiencing anything. It's about only love. So please underline. So when does meditation become only about love? Once we have touched that inner being or inner source. Till then, we are more worried about the experience, or till then, we are worried about the conditions that we pass through, experience and condition. But once we touch that innermost core of divinity, then we are no longer worried about any experience or passing condition. Meditation becomes pure love. It's an act of love then. So this is a question that they'll ask you. When does meditation become an act of love? Initially, we spoke about meditation as a path of experience. Then we spoke about meditation as a path of opening up conditions. Now, meditation has become an act of love. This cannot be forced. It happens by itself naturally. Often, we don't even notice that it has happened. Somewhere along the lane, you fell in love with it without even realizing it. It's like a girl who realizes that she's been in love with her friend for years without even knowing it. One day you'll realize it. Okay? ಭರತ್ಗೆ ಈಗ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. At last I have given a chance to realize my love. And whenever there is love, there is longing also present. The craving for togetherness. Underline this. Where there is love, there is longing or craving for togetherness. That craving contains a subtle pang, the pang of separation. It's a lover's pain of being away from his beloved. This longing can become profound. This is the first stage of bhakti. Now, whatever we underline, no, first stage, second stage, and third stage of bhakti, this is also a question. Explain the 3 stages of bhakti. So, this is the first stage of bhakti, where there is longing for the beloved. Okay, along with the pangs of separation. Please explain what bhakti is, I said. It has many aspects. The main one is the quality of devotion, meaning that you are lovingly devoted to the highest ideal. Bhakti means being devotional, where you are lovingly devoted to the highest ideal. You are in love with the divine. This cannot happen unless you have had some experience of the divine. But even then, that experience only creates a craving for more complete and permanent experience. It proves to you that there is something wondrous, something beyond the physical reality. Yes, having had such an experience, you then find yourself thrown back into the mundane. The experience has passed and you no longer feel the divine presence so clearly, so tangibly. Now underline this. The divine presence has to be felt very clearly and tangibly. Then it has a substantial impact on our life. When it is felt very clearly and tangibly. ಸರಿ, ಓಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. Oats is when you experience divinity, what you experience is originality. O. You experience authenticity. You become authentic. A. Divinity is tangible. And S is divinity is substantial. So these are the 4 qualities that you start experiencing once you touch divinity. You become your original self. You become your authentic self. Okay? The experience of the divinity is something very tangible, palpable, and substantial. You cannot deny that experience. It's very clearly felt. That's why Raj is talking about it should be very clearly felt. And it should be tangible. Okay? If it was only a glimpse, so now you begin to crave it for in earnest. So initially, you get that experience of meditation on and off in a glimpse. Then you start craving for something more and more of it. This was a very nice experience. Let me be there only. Let me go back to that condition again. So you start craving for more of that. As a result, you recommit yourself to your spiritual practice, you redevote yourself, a new sense of purpose starts to drive you. What is this sense of purpose? This experience of the divinity now starts driving your experience of meditation. So you come back to meditation because you start loving that experience of the divinity in meditation. So that drives you. So there's a sense of purpose now. I want to go to the depth of this particular experience. Where is this experience coming from? How is this experience coming from? I want to go to the depth of it. So you come and do meditation more and more repeatedly. Now, this will happen once you kind of get a taste of divinity in meditation. Okay. Our job is to create this taste of divinity in the heart of the Abhyasi. That is our job. As a preceptor, that is what you do. Then after the Abhyasi only will practice. We don't need to worry. They might be in and out, but they will practice. In fact, they will practice far more than what is necessary. Once they start loving the taste of divinity, nobody needs to tell them you practice meditation. They will only do it. The pain of longing that you are describing seems to run counter to the attitude of non-expectation and openness that you discussed earlier. Now you are saying that you need to have a longing. Previously, you said that you should not have any expectation. They are like contradictory. I said, I mean, to crave and to be non-demanding seem like contradictory approaches. It's a most beautiful contradiction, said Daji. That's why there are so many contradictions in spirituality. That's why Daji wrote the Paradoxes book. There are so many contradictions in the entire spiritual journey. So that's why what is that? The name of the book? The Paradoxes. I forgot the first word.
Power
Anyway,
of paradox.
sorry?
Power of paradox.
The power of paradox. So there are so many paradoxes in spirituality. So people get confused. What to do, what not to do. See, like for example, people are used to concentrating. And then when they come to meditation, you say, don't concentrate. Then they are lost. They don't know what to do. Right? They're used to handling things in a certain way in material life. And now they have to change the way that they handle things in spiritual life. Now that itself is a big paradox for them. How to do it? It becomes a dilemma. In material life, we go behind every thought that we get. In spiritual life, we say, don't go behind any thought. Then you are lost. In material life, we go behind every emotion. In spiritual life, we say, don't go behind emotion. Again, you don't know what to do. In material life, we keep imagining. Here we say, don't imagine. In material life, we say, we will use force for many things. In spiritual life, you are not supposed to use any force in anything. So people feel lost. What to do, what not to do. That's why you have to learn the ABCD of meditation. Meditation cannot be learned just because you know other things in life. You cannot say that I know everything in meditation at once. No. Meditation is learning an entirely new language. Even if you know the best of the other language that you already have speaking, when you are learning a new language, you have to start from alphabets. So you have to start from the alphabets of meditation. In other words, that's why people find it very difficult to explain the experience of meditation, put the experience into words, because they don't have the language, they don't have the words to actually put the experience into words. That is the reason why you have to study spiritual anatomy. One of the things that spiritual anatomy gives you, it will give you some vocabulary to describe your experience of meditation. Otherwise, you don't know how to describe the experience of meditation, what words to use. So when you read spiritual literature, this is one of the things that you get. You become familiar with the vocabulary of meditation. Without reading anything, you find it very difficult. Now, there are very few people who are born like Babuji, who from the birth had a capability to describe the experience of meditation accurately. Of all the disciples that Lalaji had, only Babaji could write about his experiences accurately. Nobody else used to write. Then Lalaji used to say, only he is writing. Why can't you people also write something? But they did not have the capability. They did not have the vocabulary. Now, our job is when we read the spiritual literature to develop that vocabulary. That is our job. Okay. Now, you should not start imagining those things, that conditions that you read in spirituality, saying that, oh, that is also happening to me. That's not how you do. You read the book to develop the vocabulary so that when you get the experience, you can put it in appropriate words. So that's why, again, we want to emphasize, if you read spiritual literature, you should not imagine. The not imagining during meditation is very, very important. Otherwise, there are a lot of people who are very suggestible. They read something, they start feeling that that same thing is happening to them. They are very suggestible. We call it as suggestible mind. They read something that is happening to them. They hear something, oh, that is happening to them. Okay? These suggestible minds are the people who are highly hypnotizable. They can be hypnotized very easily because their mind is very suggestible. Whatever you say, their mind will start acting appropriately, accordingly. Okay? Suggestibility and hypnotizability go hand in hand. So there is a question about this also. What is the difference between effect of meditation versus hypnotism and mesmerism? That's the examination question. When we read the complete works Babuji, we will read about that also. So the difference between the effect of meditation versus the effect of hypnotism or mesmerism. Okay. It's a beautiful concept. It's the most beautiful contradiction, said Gaji. But how does it work? I said. How do you reconcile them? I'll share an example. There are some places in the world where if a boy wants to marry a girl, his family barters for her. If the girl's family still refuses, his family might even kidnap her. Compare that to a boy who gets down on one knee with flowers and a ring. Darling, will you marry me? He asks. With all his heart, he wants to marry her, but he allows her to the choice to be hers. So that's important. You want the choice to be the other person. His love is not demanding. It surrenders to the object of love. So it's a non-demanding love. It surrenders to the object of love. Longing is fine, but it should contain no force. It should be respectful and reverential even. It should be accepting. Love never compels, you see. Okay. So longing is fine, but it should not be forceful. It should be respectful and accepting. Without a craving heart, it is easy to be non-demanding. Would you be demanding about something that you don't even care about? It's only when you long for something with all your heart that the sentiment of non-expectation becomes noble. If you don't like anything only, where is the expectation about that particular thing? Anyway, you don't like it, so you don't have any expectation of that. So, not having an expectation of that is not a noble in that particular context. But you crave something, but simultaneously you don't have any expectation from that thing. Now, that expectation, non-expectation, becomes noble. You crave for it, but you are non-expectant. That non-expectation is noble. When you don't crave anything, where is the question of expecting that? You don't expect at all. Right? It's only when you long for something with all your heart that the sentiment of non-expectation becomes noble. This is the second stage of bhakti. So there is craving, but there is no expectation, there is no force involved. There is some degree of surrenderance to the object of the bhakti. That's the second stage. In the first stage, there is a longing and there is a pang of separation. A craving for togetherness. That's the first stage of bhakti. But even in spite of that craving or longing, you don't have any expectation. You have a non-expecting, non-forceful attitude or an attitude of surrenderance. That is the second stage of bhakti. Can you see the difference? So, in the first stage, the non-expectations and the surrenderance or the lack of force has not yet developed. You still feel that you are okay to be forceful in the first stage. When the bhakti matures now, you realize that it's not okay to be forceful. When you realize that it's not okay to be forceful, you start developing surrenderance. Okay? So there's a very subtle difference between the first stage and the second stage. You accept everything that comes your way from the beloved in the second stage. In the first stage, you question it. Why can't it be like this? Why can't it be like that? But in the second stage, you accept everything that comes your way because there is an aspect of surrenderance in it to the beloved. Okay? In the first stage, there was love and longing. In the second stage, there is still love and longing, but there is also a graceful acceptance of your situation, whatever it may be. So that's the second stage. There is some degree of acceptance, non-expected, non-forceful acceptance. So this is surely we have had many exams where this question was there. Explain the three stages of bhakti. Now you can come in a closed book also, open book also. So you need to know. Acceptance is a cheerful thing. You see, there is no such thing as grudging acceptance. You are either grudging or you are accepting. You cannot be both. Acceptance is from the heart. You cannot force yourself to accept a situation that your heart is rejecting from inside. In real acceptance, there is joy. So it's called as joyful acceptance when it is coming from the heart. Even if the girl you love says no, you are still happy. Love does not exist for the sake of receiving anything in return. That would be sacrilege. Rather, it exists for its own sake. Please underline. Love exists for its own sake. We are not expecting anything out of love. Love for love's sake. And now people have made that meditation for meditation's sake. That's wrong. Meditation is there for the sake of reaching a goal. Meditation is not there for the sake of meditation only. Now people apply some principles wrongly in different places. Love for love's sake is fine, but meditation for meditation's sake is wrong. You are not meditating for the sake of meditation. You are meditating for the sake of change to reach your changeless state. That's why you are meditating. No. Master said that you just do meditation, everything will be fine. Master also says many things in the Guru chapter. When we read the Guru chapter, we will be surprised how blindly you depended on the Master without doing your part. He clearly puts the onus of the journey on the Abhyasi. Who is the primary determinant of the journey? It is the Abhyasi, not the Master. If the Abhyasi wishes for the journey will occur. But if the Abhyasi does not wish for the journey, they might be meditating all day, but nothing much will happen. Okay, the onus of the journey is entirely on the Abhyasi, not on the Master. Okay, Master can facilitate the journey if the Abhyasi wants the journey. Master himself will not start the journey if the Abhyasi does not want the journey. See, Master cannot be forceful. That's what we are reading. In love, there cannot be force. So if Master loves you, there cannot be force as well. Right? Then how will you make the journey? Only if you wish to, if you will to make the journey, your journey will occur. So it is your will which is predominant. I keep telling you, your will can override the will of God, override the will of Master, override the will of nature. All the three wills put together He is powerless in front of your will. That is the amount of strength that your will has got. Okay? So please remember this. Our will is very, very primary. Without our will, even God or Master or nature cannot do anything. Now you have all willed to become perceptors, to train as perceptors. That is what is facilitating this entire thing that you are undergoing. If you had not willed, none of these things would have manifested. Got the point? Now, we actually underestimate the will, but without will, nothing happens in life. Now, Bharat told me that he is getting married shortly. Now, that is because he has willed. You see hero and heroines fighting in this movie, no? Because they have not willed, but the parents are forcing them to marry. See how much they struggle because of lack of will. They cannot accept. So if you have willed, then everything goes on very smoothly. Okay. So I think with this, I'll just finish this acceptance paragraph. In real acceptance, there is joy. Even if the girl says no to your love, you are still happy. Love does not exist for the sake of receiving anything in return. That would be sacrilege. Rather, it exists for its own sake. You love for the sake of love. That is unconditional love, which is the only kind of love that there is. Love demands nothing. In love, there is no place for expectation, but only for gratitude. That is why love is the pinnacle of human nobility. Dash is the pinnacle of human nobility. Love is the pinnacle of human nobility. What is unconditional love? Love which demands nothing is unconditional love. So these are all questions that you might get about love. Okay. So we'll continue with it in the next session on Monday. 7, 8, any questions you can ask. We have not come to the final stage of bhakti. We are now in the second stage. Okay. So now that we have different, what we say, we have discussed in so much detail, it should be fairly straightforward for you to write the answers. I think even if you read all the notes that you are making, you probably will find it very easy in the exam, because most of it is actually being covered in the notes only that you are making. So the likely questions for the exams. Okay. So no questions today. I thought so questions to be put to rest on Saturday morning.
I have one question. Is it right to say that no desire is the cause of all the samskaras? Then what is that is called thinking? Does thinking create samskara?
If there is no samskara, it's like a cycle. Samskaras gives rise to thinking. Thinking gives rise to more samskaras. So it's like a cycle. A child does not think. The mind has not yet grown for thinking. So they don't create samskaras out of thinking. Adults, as we grow, when the mind expands, we think more and more. The more you think, the more samskaras you form. So thinking should be goal-oriented. Then, or it should be time-limited. Then you don't form some samskaras, much samskaras. The trouble is, we have developed a habit of thinking all the time without being goal-oriented or time-limited. That is what is giving rise to samskaras. In fact, Babuji writes in the complete works, you know, when we form more samskaras, we form more samskaras during our leisure hours, not during the work that we do. During our leisure hours, we actually form more samskaras. What do we do during the leisure hours? We go on thinking unnecessary things. That's why we form samskaras. Many of our patients also come and say, sir, when I'm engaged in my work, I have no symptoms. The moment the work is over, I get all the symptoms back. That's the first stage in the mental illness. In the second stage, the symptoms are there even when they are working. In the third stage, the symptoms become so overpowering that they cannot work. So that is what happens. 3 stages. In the first stage, when they are working, when they are engaged, no symptoms. Second stage, even when they are working, they are aware of the symptoms, but they are still able to manage to do the work. Third stage, the symptoms are so overpowering that they cannot do their work properly. The work is now the casualty. They become dysfunctional. Okay. So thinking is the fundamental thing that actually creates emotions. So we will read about it. How do we actually create samskaras? What is it that we need to be aware of? Is it possible to lead a life without creating samskaras? Yes, definitely it is possible. Once you understand how the samskaras are created, you can lead a life where you don't form samskaras. Then at that time, the only thing that you need to do is get rid of the old samskaras and you are done. Your journey is over. So it's easy and practicable to lead a life without forming samskaras. Don't think that it's a very, very vague thing. No. You can easily lead a life without forming samskaras. It can happen because of your spiritual journey, or it can also happen because of your conscious awareness effect. Being consciously aware and putting effort in that direction, you can actually stop forming samskaras. So both the paths are available. One, it can happen because of your spiritual journey. When you reach a certain stage, the formation of samskaras decreases substantially. Second thing is, even when you are at a stage where the samskara formation can occur, if you are consciously aware, you can actually lead a life with very minimal samskara formation. So these are the two ways. Okay. Krishna led a life without forming any samskaras. Best example is Krishna. He did not form any samskaras. Although he led a full life. He lived 125 years. Not a short time. Okay. Sari hagadre. Anything else? If there is anything else, you can message me. We'll ponder it on Monday. Okay. No problem then. Thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day and weekend. We'll catch up on Monday. Okay. Take enough rest. You have had a lot of things going on through the week. Weekend is like kind of recuperating. Just take enough rest. Okay. Okay then. Bye then.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Thank you.